Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today we're going to go over Game Master tips, allowing the players to guide your game. I'm Ted with some of my esteemed colleagues here.
Dave,
Ryan,
Nate.
So, guiding the game. How do we let the players do it?
Well, actually, so speaking of games, we have two going on right now that
we do.
You guys happen to be running.
Oh yeah, how about that?
So, how are we going to guide those games?
Well, we have my session coming up next week, and we just got back from a mission. You guys thwarted or potentially thwarted the ritual. You're gonna find out more about that, in the upcoming session. But you guys are in town. What would you do? At present, you don't have any pressing quests. You guys have completed a mission together, but it's not like you guys are tied. So,
not yet, anyway. So, So it's a 5th edition campaign, our first one, for that matter. And I'm playing a dwarven wizard who's going into dip in the fighter a little bit, and I was already kind of on a quest of my own before this began, so I need to get back to that. But us thwarting these cultists has raised more questions. One, during the mission we encountered a magical effect, an area that was raising undead.
Right.
So, my character, innately feels the need to explore this and find out what's going on with that and see if it's a further threat to the town is one thing. Two, we had garnered some assistance from elves of all people because they happen to have a library in Griffingaff. And I went and consulted them in order to find out where this ceremony was most likely to take place.
And I think you made a friend, a genuine friend.
I did. I think he really dug on me.
Warmed up.
Well, my dwarven sense of duty and honor compels me to honor this guy because he did help us, and without his knowledge, we may have not found the area in order to save as many people as we did. So there was a monetary reward, and my character wants to actually go back and give half of his reward to him for helping, because he appreciates the service that he did. Also, he wants to see if he can dig into more information about these areas where the strange magical occurrence is happening.
Where the plane of chaos interacts with where you guys are.
Yes, and then also I had already kind of taken a job because my character was broke as broke could be. He was so poor, so very poor.
And it's like, I came to work and then I kind of stopped work for 5 days.
I had to go save the town. I think I get that one off.
Right.
The mayor said it was good and all. Yeah, he vouched.
Right.
He gave me this shiny medal. Look, so we're gonna go back to that guy and continue trying to build my relationship and work with him. Besides, I plan on getting full plate at some point, and I'm going to need someone to make it for me while I'm out adventuring and working on my other things. And even in that quest too, or in that session, the guy that I was been hunting for showed his face and got away from me. So he's still around for me to look for. So now I got all these things that I want to do, and and so as a player, it's my responsibility to let the DM, that these are the things that are on my agenda. How do I get this done?
So for you GMs out there, you touch base with the PCs, and right there's multiple plot threads that can be spun off of that, whether I initiated or initially had intention of it, and you can. Just while your PCs are giving you this information, you make little notes and you say, okay, this is what they're looking into.
Well, a good resource for this kind of thing too. What I like to do, especially, this really only works if your players are social media engaged. You set up a Facebook group specifically for that campaign,
right? And
you have all these comment threads. You have now have an archive of all the discussion that's happened, online, accessible,
right?
and people are trading ideas back and forth, you can totally just steal what they're saying. Like if they say something that's better than the thing you had initially plotted or whatever, just steal it, and then actually their inference, they feel rewarded in a strange way
because we figured it out.
I totally thought this was happening, and it's like, no, but
I knew it was Old Man Jenkins all along.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I was just throwing it out there. Social media, Facebook is really great for that. And you can also upload pictures of things that are campaign related.
Well, you know what too, and Nate didn't make it for our first session, but even going into that session, your character has some ideas of what he's trying to do.
Oh yeah, he's all ready to go. He's
he's
actually on his current mission is to expand his up-jumped merchant house. He's a noble of an elven house, and they were just merchants that were successful enough. They basically bought their way in. So he's
new money.
So he's trying to prove not only his house's worth, but also his worth. He's the 7th son, so it's kind of like, well, we don't really expect much out of you. So he wants to kind of throw them off by actually doing something extraordinary. And he's in the kind of far off the beaten path from where his merchant family is located, and he's trying to make new trade routes and get new deals and basically show his family that he's actually worth something. So his mission is to expand the trade of his family and get new trade goods sent back, kind of make friends and influence people kind of thing. He's
got a bad book.
He's branding his family and his merchant.
He's networking.
Yeah, he's networking for his family, and so it's a lot of footwork. So he's I guess if he's in that city right now, that's what he's going to be currently doing.
You would totally be in Griffin Gaff, and it's not hard to hear or know what's going on, but apparently there was a number of people who have been kidnapped or have gone missing, and a small group of adventurers and a couple guardsmen left the village or left the city and returned half a week later with the kidnapped people in tow, and they were presented a medal by the mayor.
That's really impressive.
A ceremony and all, and were handed a pouch of some kind of coin.
A buttload of gold.
Yeah, so that would automatically entice my guy to look into that kind of thing further. Maybe this is a new group, a new guild forming, or a new group of the people get legends written about them eventually. So is this a new kind of the up and coming famous?
Or they're a good resource if you need people, muscle for your caravan.
Yeah.
Or this or that. People you might want to hire out.
Put some kind of great craftsman in another city or in a far off wood someplace. Maybe there's a dwarves in a mountain somewhere that make this fantastic stuff that I want to get. I want to talk with them about and get some kind of arrangement happening. Right. Well, I'm not going there by myself. So basically, you put something like that out of my reach that I would want to go to, and I will try to figure out a way to go to it.
We got a dwarf right here,
and maybe he's even from the has it. These guys know the mayor.
Yeah, that's right.
The mayor presented them with medals.
Well, because of my noble background, I should be able to talk with the mayor and be like, "Hey, can I check out and hang out with these new guys?
How about an introduction?
The new heroes. How about some introduction, handshaking?"
And you know what too? What's interesting about your character is his class. It's not really a class I would, peg for. Well, peg for the merchant and what you're trying to do.
Well, except for when you think of the role of the cleric, they're an orator. They're right. Somebody who speaks, so you'd expect them to be well spoken. And if you look, take it into historically, they were somebody that was at court. That would preside over weddings of nobility. So they weren't just to lump them in with nobility in high society. Really, isn't that far off.
He's not. He's definitely not the spiritual leader cleric. He's not the
role that he's filling is much different.
Yeah. I'm kind of.
Dude, do you realize how much land was grabbed by the Catholic Church and the bishops? Kings would go to war and have bishops killed because of the fact that so many of the parishioners would leave them this lands that the lords wanted to get back. So I mean, historically they've a lot of them have had power.
A lot of them have power bases. It's
have
true.
wielded power. Yeah.
So having a merchant class attack. Well, I mean, I'm not that kind of cleric.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of cleric. I'm not so much a reluctant cleric like the wino that for some reason has powers, but it's more of like my guy.
You're not doing it for the church.
I'm not doing it for a church. Yeah, it's more of like the cleric that I mean the power that I'm a cleric of is more of like a nature, time, foresight, and like life kind of. So like the domains that like life falls in that domain probably has like more of a nature, like the progression of time, but the understanding of it
Stretched out.
Right. So kind of like being able to see the past and the future in that same thing. I'm not focused on that.
But that doesn't seem to have anything to do with your actual character.
Oh, absolutely not. Which is why I'm kind of like a reluctant style cleric. Is that I have these powers. I'm not training for these powers. I'm not like I want to be a better cleric of whoever you are. So I'm kind of
you didn't
like
choose to walk down the cleric path.
Yeah.
In 5th edition, it gives the rules give you the ability to just be like, "Yep, God has chosen you. You are now a cleric," and that's the character choice you went with.
Which now this is interesting. Along with our discussion, the fact that now you look at Nate's character who has an agenda, but then you have this otherworldly being, this deity, who also has an agenda for his character that may or may not have anything to do with
contradict
what he wants.
Yeah. Which is a good classic example of your own path and then the spiritual path. That kind of idea for people in general.
Well, you need sort of ambiguities, conflicts, that kind of thing. Like that's the thing with my character. I'm like he's chaotic good. So, but he's also kind of selfish. Like he's a pickpocket. Like he has no qualms about picking the pockets of people that look like they have the coin to spare. Like that's a non-issue for him. But also, like when he heard someone in distress, like he came to the rescue and to the aid.
He jumped right to it.
Although he again, like he tries to do it. Like he tries to look bumbling while he does it. But yeah, like so. He felt good, like kind of being raised up in the public forum, and definitely the financial reward, like the pouch of gold, like ding, but also like the prestige because he's got a high charisma and the idea of like his character being aggrandized, like he's all about that, especially when you're a little halfling, like that's kind of.
Now he's got
going to a cover. It's a cover. Well, part of
the hero of the town couldn't possibly be the town pickpocket.
Yeah, upgrade it.
Yeah, well, except for now, it could be that it's kind of a thing where he only made a handful of gold pickpocketing for about 4 hours, whereas like in 5 days he made 20 gold. Like although there was more personal risk, so risk to reward type of thing. So anyway, I'm kind of at a struggle. For what would get him and his accomplice further into the arc at this point, like so if he's there and there's a call that comes out, like that's one thing, or if he's called upon to do a service,
right?
But
is he looking for something, or is he gonna be like, man, I just made a boatload of cash, I'm gonna put my feet up and see.
I'm flush.
I'm partying.
He's probably kind of lazy, so he might.
He's rolling deep right now for a while.
He likes to live comfortably, and eventually one of the things he wants to do is set up a legit cover operation. The idea is he's part of this guild, this thieves guild, but they're kind of almost a gentlemanly. The gentleman highwaymen, or like the sort of just elite trading in secrets type of thing, espionage. So he's eventually looking to open up a tailor shop and have the coin to do that, so he can kind of overhear things. Like, so the well-to-do will he'll be around for the gossip for that. And
I think he totally has the coin to start at a tailor shop.
To open up a shop, I don't think he has quite 50 gold. Really, isn't that much.
150.
100.
Oh, we got 150 gold.
150 each. Oh,
that's a decent amount
to open up a storefront.
For a first level character, that's a lot of money.
Maybe.
Second.
Well, don't be putting us in that first grade.
Right. Well, I mean,
I was kind of.
I mean, I have to look at some of the the logistics of it, but like to open up a storefront and have like supplies and like all that kind of stuff, I like basically we'd have to work it out.
Right. Yeah.
I think second level would be a little early for him to have like his own business. And
I think for your character, an important question for Ted to answer either for himself or with your help is, if Ted wants to take you out of the city, how is he going to do that?
Right. Well,
if he wants to keep you in the city, it sounds like you're ready to stay.
Right. Well, part of my thing was he's kind of lazy, so he really doesn't want to spend all that much time in his trade. So he's got to be kind of like that sort of in demand, like his time is precious, and he charges like exorbitant rates.
He could also have all of his assistants actually do the stuff.
Right. He could also do that too. Like he's actually very good at being a tailor, but definitely having people on his pay that like also know about the other side of the business, would be important.
But
and
having
the
tailors and thieves are, not going to be the
both
not
are
lining up.
Both are
you can
nimble
call the
and
shop
good.
the two T's.
Yeah, well, both are good with their
I don't
hands.
think your level's relevant though, as far as setting up shop and doing things like that.
Yes.
Of option, because commoners tend to do that kind of stuff anyway. So anybody can do it. It's just a matter of having the money to have a storefront.
Right.
And then there's
and there's all the hooks that can go along with the headaches of having a business. Like people hearing.
You got to deal with the accountant and the landlord and taxation and bribing people.
Yeah, you could have the people that try and do extortion for protection, kind of thing.
There's some things that can actually stem from that are actually when we think of gaming and running a session as the DM, you could go the other route and have to deal maybe another thieves guild is trying to extort you,
right,
and make you pay pay protection money,
right, yeah,
or even maybe the guardsmen are corrupt and they try and extort you, or you could turn to a political game where you have to deal with and contend with laws and taxation that's being passed unfairly.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things you can mix up into that.
Right. Supply shortages of silks, this and that. Somebody needing rare materials for garments. You got things like that. Like, I want this made out of dragon hide. Like,
Hey, well, we know there's one somewhere that flew over.
Yeah, all right, we did.
I don't want green. You're going to have to dye it.
Yeah, so picky.
Yeah, you're going to have to go find a red dragon, clearly, because I need a red. We can't just dye this.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
No, I want silver.
Yeah. I think my character solution would to just be to find some other like great reptile that wasn't actually a dragon. Pass the skin off, the hide off.
Kids, free albino.
Yeah.
Crocodiles for this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be his solution. Like, that's dragon, of course. Dragon.
So I don't know. So from the a little bit we've had to say, does that help you any as a DM?
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely gives me direction and points the arrows for me of what I can be able to throw out there. It's just a matter of weaving these stories here into the overarching thread that I got going on, and see what happens next.
Well, and two, the mistake of a novice DM, and it's really a stupid one, is trying to get your players to do something that their characters aren't actually interested in doing.
Right.
Whenever you can take the feedback that they've given you and weave it into a story, you don't actually have to hook them with a hook anymore. They've already given you the plot. They've already told you the story they want to participate in. Yep. So, if you go through a lot of trouble to try and get that halfling character who just started a tailor shop, to get him to go out of town, it's going to be a lot of work. There's got to be a real incentive, or the players just got to bite.
Well, I mean, the thing too, I think at some point, depending on what's going on with the players, you have to have some downtime to say that they accomplished stuff that's not adventuring, because nobody that's when you're adventuring, you're going on missions. Nobody's constantly going on these crazy missions. There's usually you might have 15, 20 days to accomplish something. And so, like, this way you can have something, so it's not totally unrealistic where, yeah, this character is, like, starting a business, but he's also going off here and doing this, so he's not actually...
Well, I would even, if you look at some of the stuff that's been incorporated in the rules in the past is, between levels, you're supposed to spend an actually decent amount of time training. So, the idea that, all you do is go from adventure to adventure and adventure is silly anyway. So, for there to be 30 days, 2 weeks, 6 months, a year between the actual adventures is not unrealistic. Do you need to role play all that? No, time can just pass. You can.
Even fiction authors just say like such and such a time, 20 winters have passed.
40 years have passed.
40 years have passed.
You can throw in this stuff that your players need to know. You can do emails or a Facebook group or handouts or whatever your group does to make it more exciting, and so you gloss over it without actually glossing over it. And maybe you incorporate hooks in that too, or you might just put stuff out there as flavor, but for whatever reason your players really bite on it, and they will go on and on and on and just won't shut up about it. So you're like, well, maybe I should use that for something. Right. So that there's things like that.
Right. Yeah, and it's also kind of cool too, where like if the main thread of the story isn't the only thing going on, like. I don't know, like if the next adventure wasn't exactly tied into it, but then there's like something that kind of points it back to it. Like, just because if everything feels like one continuous story, that's not like how real life kind of tends to happen. Like, it's kind of like you deal with this thing, and then there's this other thing that's kind of you take care of, but there's this back burner thing that's still happening, and you deal with the consequences of that. Kind of jump back and forth. It's kind
of like it's not a straight road.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot
tributaries.
of there's a lot of forks and twists, and some of them actually lead right back to the thing you're working on. Some of them lead the way, and you could go off and do some things, and that thing you did in the very first adventure actually starts popping up.
And maybe biting you in the ass even harder because you've neglected.
Because I look at the adventure we just did. I look at that session, and I look at what happened. Okay, so a blacksmith was contacted. We adventured with 3 guardsmen that survived. We made contact with the mayor. We made contact with elves in the library. You actually had some run-ins with some other local criminal elements, probably.
It's true. It's true.
So these are all things and that are going to come back in some shape or form, or could or should. That may not involve combat at all. Or some other kind of struggle, or or every time you meet someone and they get involved in your life. Well, a thing the DM can do is have them keep popping up. Maybe not in a necessarily antagonistic way, but hey, you're at the local tavern having a beer, and there's that guy that helped you rescue the prisoners from the cultists, and what do? So or maybe he comes over and buys you a beer, because actually they made out pretty well too, but. So and they keep just popping up like that, and it really helps to tie your players into the world. The mayor goes, oh, these guys are pretty competent, and he's a mayor of a city, and he's got problems to solve. So he's going to use whatever tools are at his disposal. Be like, oh, you know what, those guys, they did that thing okay. Maybe I can use them again.
Bandits shut down the trade routes, the Silk Road.
Yeah,
something going on where
or the elves from the library be like, oh, remember that time I helped you out and gave you that information? Well, I need this rare herb that can only be collected from the swamp in the moonlight of the 3rd Saturday of November. Can you hook me up?
You could take a Ghostbusters where they're like, there's an undead in the catacombs of this library, and we need to get these scrolls, but we can't. So
the library basement.
Yeah.
Creepy things.
Yeah, it's like the Ghostbusters movie, Slimer and all the around. Yeah.
So there's all these things to help immerse your players into the experience that could have started out as nothing. Even we early on we saved a kidnapped woman, and from the original calls that kicked this whole adventure off, she could pop up again. Her husband can pop up again, and it could just be it could be as small as, hey, you're in the market shopping for whatever, and you bump into so and so. Little things like that. And if they happen enough, your players will start to maybe ingratiate themselves towards these characters. Maybe they become fond with them, and you don't even know why the players are fond of them. Like, they're like nothing bit parts, but they choose to keep
balloons out into something more than
So they become plot threads and hooks all by themselves. And again, they're the best kinds because they're the ones that the players are kind of feeding back to you.
Yeah, it's the things that happen organically. It's the role playing of the role playing game. That's kind of the point of it all. So.
And it just makes our job much easier as GMs. So we got this other game going on.
We do a very different flavor of game from right now. Well,
it's a bit darker, wouldn't you say?
And sunnier.
Darker and sunnier at the same time.
That's right. So it's a running Pathfinder rule system, but in the world of Dark Sun. So you have things like psionics. We should do a video just on the world of Dark Sun specifically, but it's basically it's gritty survival. Mad Max meets Tolkien meets like Dune.
Some terrible sorcerer kings.
Yeah. Basically, the bad guys won, and you're dealing with it in this desert planet. The Fallout.
Can't even trust the cops.
Gritty,
especially the cops.
Gritty survival.
So right now we're on a quest. We have a mission. We've been charged with tracking down this stolen artifact or relic from a house.
This family heirloom, and by and large, people. Part of the charge is to do it on the down low, to not, people. The noble didn't want the house name to be invoked too much to clearly connect. Be
sullied.
Right. To kind of like that, a breach in security of a noble house is kind of could be viewed as a weakness. So So we have a bunch of other players that are involved that aren't here. It's
and really our face character, our front man, is this is the son to a chief of a slave tribe.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. He's a gladiator, and a few of you guys are kind of his entourage. But between fights, bouts, having an entourage is expensive, so you have to maintain expenses, and sometimes you mercenary a little bit. Things come up.
Well, so I'm part of that entourage. My brother Jeremy is playing a sun priest, who is also part of that entourage.
Well, he's kind of the ring man, he's the ringside healer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're going to be a gladiator and you're going to have an entourage, you're going to want someone who can heal
put you back together again. Yeah.
And then my brother in the game, who's another half giant.
Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just kind of there to kind of fluff him up and make him look good and be like the muscle.
Right. Well, I mean,
we take care of his light work.
Right. Exactly. You keep people from harming them, kind of thing, and also he's somebody important in the tribe's son, so you kind of.
Now we've had 2 sessions with a lot of time between them.
Yeah.
Were you part of the entourage too? Where did we pick you up from?
When I wasn't there. I don't know where I was.
I believe he was part of the entourage.
I was kind of in the background.
Yeah, I basically I put you. You were so the thing that you guys had come up. Well, I think individually
we were separated clutch mates.
Right, individually you said that your clutch was annihilated, scattered to the winds. So you were found left for dead by same slave tribe, so you ended up being a part of that as well. Easier to lump everybody together because you can spend a couple of if you have a large table, which I think I've 7 players at that.
Like that.
Yeah,
that's too many for really diverse backgrounds, and
you could spend 2 sessions just getting the group together, and if you were to pull people together separately and not have people show up so they don't have to sit there and wait through them not actually getting the play,
which is lame and kind of sucks.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to have somebody just sitting there looking at you, so it's easier sometimes to just throw people into it.
Yeah, it's coming back to me. So I was rescued by Left 4 Dead kind of thing, rescued by them, so I just joined them as a pseudo replacement for my original clutch, the Thrycreen's family, basically.
Yeah. And I was picked up by a rogues guild and pretty much trained as a just muscle. I'm actually just a blatant killer. I have no problems with just killing and eating my victims and whatever. And I was, with
Ted, not his character.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So as this.
Well, I mean, so Thrycreen, they're like these mantis, like
giant insects, 4 arms,
and they're intelligent, but they can also be savage.
Right.
Right.
And I continued down the savage path where you didn't. And I came upon the group traveling, and clutchmates with Thrycreen, they know, they just know one another.
It's an insectoid pheromone thing, right. Probably.
So I see, Nate's character, walking through the middle of town, and he's getting set upon by some rogues, I guess you could call them, and to ingratiate myself into the party and to help my clutchmate, I start helping them.
Helping the party.
Helping the party and, killing these people. And, hey, here's this other Thrycreen who helped us out. They just carried me along, and, now I'm part of the mission with them.
Well, a slave tribe is kind of amorphous. If you have the same kind of background, ditched for one reason or another, or escaped for one reason or another, left for dead.
We'll take anybody, really.
Yeah.
As long as they got a pulse.
Well, yeah, if they help and they contribute to the survival of the tribe, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But with what's going on now, we've actually been recruited, or actually, Rob's character, our main character, who's a swashbuckler and gladiator.
We took the so they have the sort of hybrid classes that Pathfinder had released, and they have
just freshly came out,
right? So they had a swashbuckler build. So we just kind of reskinned it and called it the gladiator, because they're super adept at personal combat, sort of. So.
Yeah, so he's a fancy pants gladiator.
Right.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, fancy pants
gladiator.
Well, I
mean, they usually
they get panache.
Successful gladiators are usually pretty showy,
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, in 5th edition, there's an entertainer background.
And the alternate build is a gladiator.
The alternate build is a gladiator,
right,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, going back to that, so this guy is contacted by a merchant house or a noble house?
It was a noble house, yeah.
By a noble house, and, they kind of hire him, and we're kind of like hanger on, so we go where he goes. If he's fighting, we go watch him fight and look impressive for him. If he's going to the bar, we go there to tell everyone how badass he is. So it's just what we do, right? So we end up trying to track down this dagger, and we have an idea who we think stole it.
Right.
And now this is a completely different scenario than the other game that's going on, because we're in the middle of a mission, we have a quest, and we have one goal, and at least we thought we did, and our quarry, our objective was right there in front of us. We track it down, we get to it. Well, the guy's not there. We think he's been taken by marauders.
We go and fight the marauders,
which includes flaming, exploding skeletons.
Somehow he's still not there.
Yeah. But that doesn't end there. There's two factors. We know where he was going. We think we know where he was going, because the caravan was going to Nibne.
The caravan was actually heading towards Yorick.
Oh, Yorick.
Yeah.
A different city-state. So it was heading to Yorick, so we think he wants to go to Yorick. But when we free the caravan people from the marauders, he's not amongst them, and that's where we think he's going to be. But what is amongst them, or amongst the marauders, is his belt pouch.
Well, a pouch with coins minted. So here's the thing. Dark Sun is super poor as far as like mineral wealth. So like gold, silver, iron, super rare. The only people that tend to have coins, like gold coins, are super wealthy, the fabulously wealthy, like merchants, nobles, and basically the rulers of the land type of thing. So nobles would have it, so they find coins minted with the house sigil on it. So we
kind of assume it's connected to him somehow.
Right.
Did he hire the marauders? Did he bribe his way out of the sticky situation?
Right.
Was he taken and his pouch survived, but he didn't?
Right.
We don't know. And also a lot
of questions.
A good analogy for people too that truly understand what gold means in Athos is one gold piece in Athos is equivalent to one platinum piece anywhere else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's worth 10 times as much. So we found 20 gold pieces, which is like a ridiculous amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
In Dark Sun. So we still have this problem of, okay, where's the dagger? Where's the dude? And we didn't find the dagger amongst the Marauders as well. So we're still in the middle of this, where in the other campaign we kind of ended. It was very sandbox-ish in where we are. In this one, we're still on a linear path because we have an objective we're trying to obtain.
Right.
We told these guys we were going to do this thing, so now we got to do the thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there's something, an aspect. I don't know if you guys remember it at all, but like the fact that like the party's cleric, that the thing that originally brought you guys to Tyr was he was having these visions of just like kind of like the sun filling with blood and bubbling and like
my character doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
He just follows the fancy pants gladiator around.
So, well, I mean, but in game, his dwarves can they can do light labor tasks for a very long amount of time, including talking. Like a dwarf could talk to you for 72 hours straight and be fine, like not sleep. Just
he's gonna make you care about it whether you want to or not.
So he's like orating like how much of this, like there's plenty of things that happen in between scenes that the character's talking, and so he'd be talking about these horrible visions he's having, and like that dagger factored into that for some reason, like somehow. Yeah. I
think the half giants are kind of obtuse and they can kind of ignore it. But the human wannabe noble is probably like, oh my god, we got to find this stupid thing and shut this dwarf up. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's when it's great to be able to turn to your Kreen and your Kreen companion and just talk and clicks and pops and have everyone else clueless as to what you're saying.
Where we usually are discussing if you can eat anybody, and I tell you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Or at least not in front of the other sentient beings.
So, what about the Kreen? What do the Kreen got going on? Unfortunately, my character in this campaign is pretty straightforward. I'm a barbarian that beats things with my mind.
Dark and shadowy. I know you guys are all, trustworthy, people. So, what's said here is not, what goes to your characters. You guys, aren't going to metagame, but as part of the Rogues Guild, it's my mission to steal the dagger.
Curses.
Well, actually, I don't know if maybe you didn't remember this detail or whatever, or didn't want to reveal it. If we're gonna just talk about full disclosure type of stuff, so like the two rogues that he helped you guys fight were actually part of his team that was like spying on you to get reconnaissance. But like to a neutral evil character, what better way to ingratiate yourself to the people you're trying to track than to like save their lives.
I'm just gonna sink my claws into your back, tear you open, and leave you in pieces.
Yeah, to the people that he went there with to.
Go!
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the open disclosure. And I get to make the decision as the campaign goes on. Once we finally find the dagger, I have to then figure out, where my loyalties will lie, what's going to offer me, the better profit or the better decision, because, technically, now I've got a lawful good personality towards Nate's character because they're blood clutch. But
he started out just like everybody else, a happy little Thry-Kreen, hopping around in the desert.
But at the same time, with the clutch dying, at least to his opinion, a new family has adopted him. So, does he consider the Rogues Guild his clutch, or will the adventuring group replace the Rogues Guild as the clutch? So it's very interesting because a Thry-Kreen has that lawful good mentality towards the people that are considered his clutch. So it's a situation of, well, what is it going to be at the time that we find that dagger?
And then the fulcrum really in this is Nate's character,
Right.
who is actually a legitimate clutch mate.
Right.
Yeah.
So, number one, my character has to survive to the point we find the dagger, which in Athos, there's no guarantee.
No, not at all.
Nate's character has to survive to the point that, when we find the dagger. And then at that point in time...
That makes the decision easier for you in that regard.
I have to then figure out, all right, I'm only 5 years old. I mean, Thrycreen don't age the way, humans do. So I've spent, the majority of my life amongst the Rogues Guild. So... Where is it going to where's it going to fall?
And there's different routes too. It could be do I just take the dagger and run? Do I say screw the Thieves Guild and stay with these guys? Do I try and convince my clutch mate that we should go over here because these guys are way better and they took care of me better and this is the real clutch?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Nate,
but also too, we didn't really spell out how long you were with the guild. It could have been a year, 2 years, whatever.
Right.
So I mean, and that's although within only having existed for 5 years, that's a considerable amount of your lifespan.
Yeah, Thrycreen lived 20, 30 years tops.
Yeah.
So. They're infantile on the that race length.
Unless they made a lot, then I think they have to keep ducking or something.
So they'll get their head bit off.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's the fun fulcrum that I get to dance with. So it'd be interesting to see how things play out.
And then the fun thing too will be with the Sun Dwarf, it's like, okay, why is he having these dreams about this dagger? And and this guy went to somebody supposedly went to a lot of trouble to steal the dagger. So what is the real purpose? Like we may decide although our face man, our gladiator, he's very much as, I don't know what his actual alignment is, but he acts very lawful and very goodish.
Or chaotic good. Chaotic good is very hero oriented. Different means to different approaches to accomplish that. But chaotic good, Robin Hood was super heroic.
Yeah, because even when we were taking the stuff back from the Marauders, a lot of the party were I don't know, they could have come and got it themselves.
Yeah,
I think they offered us 10 ceramic pieces or something ridiculous.
It was pretty bad.
Although, but that being said, depending on his character's sort of view of fare, when you're sitting with a small fortune in one pouch versus returning the stuff. He could have brought back just a very little bit of the stuff and just the rest of it's back at this cave, give you directions and not worried about the actual...
Well, I think the other thing, too, is to keep in mind is, we're part of an entourage, and I think, entourages tend to be a little more morally ambiguous anyway.
Well, especially Dark Sun is kind of Mad Max, it's very survivally. And also, as it stands now, the caravan was barely, it had enough people to garrison it against things that could come out of the desert, but it certainly didn't have any manpower to spare. It was kind of
let's face it, this mofo is really on a high horse for being from a slave tribe.
Yeah,
I think maybe it was because the chief's his dad or whatever, and his chief he probably never actually had to be a slave.
Right. But no, he wasn't born other characters. He was not born a slave, and sort of it's in a way it's kind of a pompous thing to go fight in a gladiatorial arena. You have to be egotistical to want to do that.
He's going for kicks
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody's making you do it, which he's doing it for glory.
Yeah. So in Dark Sun, a lot of times you got to do it because of
somebody bought you and you're
gonna
die.
Paid for you, and that's just what you do. Where my character has kind of a different background. Where I think Mark was going with the same background as mine too. Where Tyr is the only free city in Dark Sun where we're at, and because there was a slave revolt and it was overthrown. Well, before that there was an evil sorcerer king ruling everything, and his Templars and
this guard
and the Templar Guard. Yeah. Basically, they were the police. They held the order. And, they tend to be corrupt.
Yeah.
Well, when the city fell, before the city fell, half-giants are the favored enforcer of the Sorcerer King.
Of that specific, Sorcerer King. Yeah.
So guess who happened to be working for the wrong side?
Yeah.
We were. So we're kind of this isn't looking very good. These people are going to be really pissed off about this. Maybe we should beat feet. And we did, and we hooked up with a slave tribe and been hanging out. And we're back in tier with this guy because this guy keeps looking at a stupid dagger in his dreams, and this guy feels like he's got to jump around like a jackrabbit, and in an arena. And we're kind of like, I don't know, man. You think they're going to recognize
Keep our edge
us?
low. Actually, I think somebody did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did. There was an encounter. Yeah.
Yeah. There was people that we kind of locked up or something doing our lawfully appointed job. I might add.
Yeah.
They tried to come for some payback.
Yeah.
They got their asses whooped because we're badass half giants.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I like the fact that the perfect cover for you guys that were abusing authorities was to go hide amongst the slave tribe. They'll never define us. Yeah. We were so oppressed. Like
this was bullcrap.
We're being oppressed.
Yeah. So but I don't know. So. What are you guys thinking as far as like looking like the trail maybe could kind of have went cold in a way? Like,
Well,
right?
so
Like,
okay. So right now the only thing we have to go on is a pouch full of coins, and he was going to Yorick.
Yeah, maybe he paid off the guy that we got the coins from
right. And
for safe passage through the mountains. Maybe he's not actually really going to Yorick.
yeah, so interesting little aside about like they were fighting Gith, which are these like raiding barbarian reptilian-oid barbarians. They're kind of creepy. Basically, the Githzerai and Githyanki kind of sort of like a Neolithic version of that.
The caveman.
Right, caveman version of that. But
They're not nearly as cool as they are in other worlds.
well, they're not as magical or whatever, but they're
They're silver swords.
Yeah, no, none of that.
They're terrible psionic powers.
So
Yeah.
they have the psionics, and as basically the more powerful they are, the more powerful
That's right,
psionics
they
they
do
have.
have psionics.
It advances based on their hit dice, so the
Yeah.
higher hit dice, the more abilities you're gonna have. But anyway, one of the things about Dark Sun is pretty much everybody's illiterate, like except for like a rare.
Yeah, there's
few
two things people need to know about Dark Sun.
Yeah.
One is they're illiterate, and everyone's psionic, pretty much.
Right.
Even the plants can kill you with their mind.
Right. So the thing about that is, I mean, not that most barbarian tribes are going to have a paper trail, but there could have been like a communication of like a map or this or that. But like everybody's illiterate, so paper trails are going to be hard to come by unless it's like ancient documents, right? So like there's kind of like really it's hard to find a link other than like, all right, you find this merchant house's or this noble house's coin.
So we
Or is that
actually
how you-
did the most common thing in two different places that we could do to try and figure out if the guy was there. We asked around. I circulated amongst the caravan workers and kind of ingratiated myself with them by spending all day laboring beside them and picking up wagons, fixing wheels, and that kind of stuff, and just making friends. And and then once we got into the Gith stronghold and defeated the big cheese there, we imprisoned their young and their females, and we questioned them, and we didn't get any useful information other than where the treasure was. So it's like you said, the trail is seemingly cold, and so all we have to go on is, did he really go to Yorick,
Right.
or maybe someone in the caravan knows something that they're not telling us. So really, our only option is go back to the caravan and see what we can
Spoil the
find
trail
out
for
there.
trails, or maybe there was a back entrance, basically an exit through a mountain pass or something that the guy actually traveled on.
Or we could go find your friend and ask him if he's seen him.
There we go.
Oh yeah, your friend. Yeah, the spiny sort of.
Yeah, that
flying
thing I want to kill.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it wants to kill you too.
It
Well, not
does.
just Nate. Yeah, the rest of the party too.
Yeah, it wants to indiscriminately kill the whole party.
So getting back to the point of letting the players help guide your game. As the group, we have to determine whether we're going to chance taking the prisoners off to go kill this flying dragony thing, or whether we're going to drop the prisoners off and then go kill this thing.
There's also the fact that we encountered this thing and it harassed us, and we didn't really know what it was, and we fought it, and it took kind of like a standstill. It couldn't really get to us the way it wanted to. We proved a little bit tougher than it probably initially thought, and we couldn't get to it either at the same time. But with the back and forth exchange, Nate's Crean character happens to be a psychic warrior and has knowledge about psionic stuff, and this monster creature happens to be some kind of psionic dragon. And he's like, you know, his eyes are kind of lighting up a little bit because he's like, wait a minute.
Those things have treasure.
Those things keep a lot of treasure and stuff, and I want it. And so, you know, so like that's another kind of plot thread that's kind of weaved in. Like, all right, do we stop what we're doing to go figure out if we can track this thing down for what it has? And it kind of has been kind of mean to us, and it wants to kill us and eat our young.
Yeah. Well, there's also the factor of you gotta transport people across the desert a couple of days. And it can fly. So, you know, like, that's the consideration. It's just like, it can, you know, like, if somebody's kind of weak, it can probably kill them. Like, you know, they're not hardened adventurers. Like, you guys are effectively as good as, like, in most other, say, Pathfinder games, you guys are as effectively as good as 5th level characters, right? So you're middling adventurers.
Well, that's the thing with Darkstone, too. The survivability is a little bit harsh, so your characters they start
at a higher level. But somebody who does like an everyday laboring job,
it's still just a commoner.
It's still a little better than your commoner in your other worlds, but still a little soft and squishy, right?
Yeah, so what would really help you out with planning the next session is knowing what the majority of us actually want to do. Do we want to ditch these guys and say, all right, here's some the stuff that we promised we'd deliver to your caravan, go take it, and we're going to go off and do whatever we want to do? Or are we going to follow them back to the caravan and then maybe join with them and just forget this whole kind of thing and go explore Uruk to see if the guys actually went there?
Right.
Yeah. Are we going to give their stuff back like we said we would?
Yeah. Are we going to give them all
Are we
their stuff back?
Are we going to bury it somewhere in the desert and go, you know what? We think you haven't done everything you can to help us find this guy, and we have your stuff and we'd love to give it back to you, but we need more information.
Yeah. Put a little pinch on them about that. Put them under the pressure.
Yeah, so there's different things we could do, and we can make Ryan's life easier by telling him which.
Yeah, I mean, because at some point, we're just doing it on camera here as Nerdarchy, but at some point I was going to sit down and be like, all right, there's a multitude of possibilities of material I could write. I'm not going to write them all. Give me an idea of what you want to do.
And that's what the whole point of this is no DM wants to write for every potential possibility.
You can't plan for all the contingencies, because even if you plan like 3 different potential threads somebody could take, they could go with options 4, 5, or 6. So there's no way you're going to plan for anything.
Well,
sometimes you just need to hook a brother up.
Yeah. Well, my character is interested in giving back the stuff we promised. Because we definitely got a reward. I mean, the gold, just the gold. Who the heck cares about all that stuff? So, as far as I'm concerned, we got rewarded throughout the experience, and we didn't find the guy. Well, that's on us. Now, if we want to say, hey, we don't think you've told us all the information, we just saved your people. Come on, hook us up.
But another thing too is when we encountered the caravan. Like, we were nobodies to them. We didn't have any value to them. And we were kind of bothering them when they had a lot of stuff going on. So maybe just by bringing it back, like, that alone will influence them to go, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should pay attention to these guys.
Yeah, I should think a little harder about this person they're looking for.
So another difficulty you guys are going to have to factor in. You have a cleric that can't quite see.
So
that's going to be
one of the things that I don't miss from 3.x Pathfinder and below, going forward with 4th edition and 5th edition was the save or suck.
Yes.
And our cleric right now is experiencing save or suck, and he did not save, he sucks because he's been blinded forever.
Well, basically until he levels, then he'll have the spell to undo what has happened. But like, think about how traumatic it is for a sun priest that can't see the sun rise.
Well, his other senses are going to heighten, so you can hear the crackle of the heat in the day. You can feel the sun.
Yeah, but I mean, so that just for like, if you guys are doing an escort mission, taking them back, like just getting him down the mountain, it's like going to be.
I'm just going to carry him.
Yeah. I mean,
I was thinking just feel like Homer falling down the gorge.
Yeah,
he's down.
I have a decent strength, and I got 4 arms.
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So now we went in the back way. I don't even know if Ryan actually wants us to go and find that back way.
I think we needed to.
But if we went the other way,
There's a lot of skeletons.
there was a lot of crazy stuff going
There's
on.
a lot of obstacles, and
Maybe the guys in the rest of that complex. I really don't know.
Yeah.
So he could be in there. That guy could have just got paid to shelter him or something like that.
He could be hanging out somewhere.
We killed the guy, and he's out there. He's back there drinking with the guy we're looking for with the daggers. Back there drinking with the other Gith or whatever. Unless they ate him.
Yeah. Well, actually, other than asking for the treasure, I don't really harassing the women for where they. Basically, I think you just really asked for the storeroom. I don't really think you did much in the way of interrogation. Thinking back to the session.
Yeah, we didn't really ask have you seen this man?
You didn't really you looked for coin because part of me was curious if you were gonna interrogate the cleric at all, but you just murdered him because you guys didn't really get too interested in what was going on with him until you found the coin purse.
Yeah. But it was too late.
Yeah, it was very much.
He was
too late.
definitely
dead. Yeah. So, but
he'd been up until that point. He'd been hurting us a lot.
Yeah. Well, I intended him to do so, and we talk about the saver suck thing, but there might be a session or two where Jeremy plays his character blind, the dwarven cleric, but in the end, ultimately, there's going to be a way in undoing it. And I feel like it creates an interesting tension, and it's not the best situation for his character for a little bit, but it's an interesting story. I mean, as long as it's not completely permanent,
right.
It can be undone. You get better. Adversity affects characters, and it makes them more interesting for it.
But we all know what Jeremy's going to be wanting to do.
Right.
Is to get rid of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of going to be his character's direction.
Yeah.
So he's kind of playing to see, I think, what he wants to do.
Right.
So, do we have anything else to broach on this?
Yeah. Well, do we have a definitive direction? You guys?
We've only got half the group here.
Well, it was kind of late when we ended the session, but I definitely think
it was going on
we should have interrogated them about just simply asked them, hey. Is there a guy that looks like this around the area?
And also, too, as a GM, when you're ending your game late at night, it was going on 3 o'clock in the morning, it's okay to retcon, the last 30 minutes of the session. Seriously. I am perfectly fine with it. Because everybody's worn out. I had a bunch of encounters, probably should have ended the encounter after you dropped the Earth Priest. That would have probably been a better. You know what? Sometimes it is when you're running a game. Better to end it at a climatic, the gurgling death rattles of the priest dropping, and then just end scene right there.
Well, yeah, for several reasons. One, like you said, us as players, we're not going to be nearly as sharp. To do the things that our characters probably would have thought to do.
Right. Yeah.
But even, but also us as GMs, it's the same problem. There may be a nuance that you were going to incorporate, but you didn't because
you missed the 3
because it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, wrap up time.
Yeah. Well, and and also too, just for dramatic storytelling, that would have been the better chapter break. Yeah, if I were if you were reading the story about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And us having the time to think about what we're going to do, what we're going to do with the stuff, what else is in there, because it's just better than letting it run on and on.
Yeah. So there were a couple little things too, nuanced things that got dropped into when you were talking, when you were in the camp. These little threads that were.
There was definitely adventure hooks there with different armies being raised, people going missing. I mean, some of the stuff could have actually been okay, well, people are going missing. Well, that's what the Gith do. They make people go missing.
Yeah.
And we also got more information on the Gith where this particular tribe were they get really active for a short period of time and wreak all kinds of havoc, take all kinds of prisoners, fill their larder, and and then go dormant. And they just happen to be in the active stage, and these ones happen to raise undead for some reason. Bastards.
Yep.
So. Off the top of my head, that's what I can think of. There's probably might even been some other ones that.
In regards to my character's opinion, I'm all for keeping a larger portion of their stuff, and I absolutely want to go kill the dragony thing. There's my guys.
So immediate. So we have one vote for killing immediately hunting the dragon thing.
I would definitely not mind doing that as well.
Yeah, a second Kreen vote. So two three-clawed fingers get raised in the air.
Yeah.
Or technically they have 4 arms, so they could
Yeah, we have
eight.
We have 8 votes.
Yeah, 8 votes.
That thing,
And the people's
you know,
vote.
actually, I'm not really opposed to that either because that thing really pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, and so it had a hard time hitting these guys because they were like deflecting left and right. Basically, the Thri-Kreen get deflect arrows as a bonus feat. Which
Let me tell you, half giants do not.
well,
They get catch arrow with
Yeah.
their fleshy thighs.
yeah,
and their
that's
arms.
right. So the thing about that is this thing only can shoot 2 spines. So if it hits, it only has both of them would have to hit for have a chance to actually inflict damage to the
I got
party.
a pretty decent armor class.
Yeah. Whereas like this guy's using half giants can use oversized weapons, so weapons size larger. So he's firing like crossbow bolts at
But unfortunately, he's using Dex, which is not his best stat.
yeah.
And he's firing at several range increments away.
Yeah.
So
Because this thing does have some range on you.
yeah, so it definitely was not an optimal weapon for me anyway, as far as getting within range.
But you've also done the most substantial damage, so it started like basically, he realizes what it is, and you guys have a special relationship with this spine dragon because it was definitely showing you some love with all these.
Yeah, I have some scars to remember him by.
Yeah, and I didn't even like fully. Like those spines are supposed to get stuck in you and reduce your effectiveness, which I forgot to run the mechanic.
Oh, gee, that's great.
Yeah, so
Not surprise in Dark Sun. It's supposed to screw you harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, right? So I had to deal with rage increment minuses. I had to deal with using a lesser stat, and I had to deal with using an inferior weapon. Like every one of these things that I mentioned is like a -2.
Yeah. It's
So I'm trying to fight this thing with a -6, and none else in my party had
to have a long
real range weapons.
Yeah. And well, I mean, and
Thri-Kreen really don't use crossbows.
We jump to whatever we want to kill, and we throw stuff at it that's really close range, and we
Right.
stab it
but
Yeah.
I mean,
and bite it.
but the thing of it, like to really consider, is that like when you're in a terrain that's largely open desert, like you're going to want as long of a range increment thing you can, because I can see somebody from miles away. So like like the heavier crossbow or the longbow, like I feel like every adventure with assault should have something like that, because it's just like, well, I can see the threat coming from afar.
Right.
And if they look like they're going to be a threat, I want to start to soften it up, because things can get pretty nasty pretty quick in Dark Sun.
All right. Well, I think we've gotten far away from our initial point of getting prepped.
I don't know, I think we illustrated some really good examples.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah.
But with that, you can look for us on Facebook.
Check us out on Twitter and Instagram.
Nerdarchy.com is another one.
And with that, until next time, my friends,
Stay
stay nerdy.
nerdy.